Alrighty. Happy weekend, folks. Energy is better than the last workout. Definitely focused on like hydration and just kind of eating yesterday. So, and I think that helped. I also did end up having to take, some medication to help with this headache. However, as I've been kind of going about my morning, kind of moving my neck around, just finding some spots where I'm like, ooh, that is tighter than I expected. And noticing that my headache improves for a time at the very least with some neck mobility slash like postural stability stuff. So that's kind of going to be the emphasis of the day. So a lot of this is based around the chin tuck. If I had a bone to pick with the chin tuck, it's that I don't think it's done very well. Um, I'll teach a patient how to do a chin tuck, and then 3 minutes later, it's a totally different movement. And then we try and fix it again, and this and that, and this and that. So there is this tendency to be kind of collapsed inwards with this forward head. All right, whether that's good or bad, I think in that discussion, I think one of the best things I ever heard, there's no such thing as good posture. Your next posture is your best posture. It promotes frequent movement. So here we are, right? If I'm not feeling well, if I'm concentrating something, reading something up close, right? I do need to be here, but there might be this tendency to be here too much. And again, the why of why we spend so much time here is multifactorial. So I'm not gonna even open up that can of worms. So first thing I want to try and get a lot of my patients to do is to get out of this kind of thoracic flexion, protracted shoulders, and that is to bring your chest up, keep your ribs down, pull those shoulder blades down and back. Right? Take the tension out of so that's where up here, that's a shrug, right? And that feels like more of a lower lat, a little bit of a scapular retraction. And just that alone pulls my head back naturally. From here, all right, we work into the chin tuck where I just try and pull my head back and pull my chin down ever so slightly. So I'm trying to feel a nice stretch up the back of my neck to just below my hairline. There it is. So from here, I can still breathe. I know I can go into enough lower cervical extension to cut off. Like it's very difficult to breathe here, right? But I am feeling a lot of work in these deep cervical neck flexors, right? So the thought is again, we're just trying to get out of this protracted position and just try and come back. So it's not a significant motion. It's not a lot, right? I'm trying to keep my nose pointed straight ahead. If I look down at the floor, that's not very effective, right? I'm tucking my chin, but it's not very effective for what I need, considering most of my life is straight ahead. So as I pull my head straight back again, right, I feel the work deep in the front of my neck, and I feel a stretch up the back of my neck, particularly in those suboccipitals just below my hairline. Okay. So a couple of mistakes that I see is that if we don't get out of that kind of caved in chest, kyphotic posture, right, this doesn't feel the same, and it feels like there's just a pressure preventing me from getting further. So as soon as I get that out of the way, right, that feels much better. The other mistake I see is that people in the attempt to get their lower cervical spine extended or again get their head back, that chin pops up at the same time and it feels like a pinching sensation a little higher up in the neck. So again, not exactly pleasant. So one of the other things I like to review with patients is rotation and extension. So looking at rotation, If I am facing the camera and I protract my head, as I go to turn my head, there's a tendency for my chin to jut upwards, and then same thing to the right, right? I can still look behind my shoulder, but my chin is jutting upwards, so my spine is having to do more work. If I tuck my chin in, I can keep my chin down while I turn my head. So that's going to be a lot of the focus today is maintaining a chin tuck while going through a variety of positions while working on our thoracic parascapular stability. If I had a bone to pick with any of this, it's breathing. All right. If I'm reading a good book, if I'm concentrating on my work, I'm not sitting there going or holding my breath, right? That I should feel, again, I like having my hands down here because this is a very relaxed position. Too many people, I think, try and pull their arms back, which might work, but then they tend to overly drive their elbows back, which ends up rolling their shoulders up towards their ears. So again, if I'm just at an event, I'm relaxed, so I can pull those shoulder blades down and back, pull my chin back, and breathe easy. If I go to turn my head, I don't need to hold my breath. Okay, so that's again, the emphasis is on having enough of a chin tuck where you can still feel like you're getting what we need from the movement while still breathing. All right. So the other kind of relevance to the chin tucking your neck motion is cervical extension or being able to look up. So again, if I collapse inwards and my nose is pointing straight ahead, it's kind of a pinch at the base of my skull. It doesn't feel very good, and the range of motion is limited. If I keep my head forward, roll my shoulder blades down and back, and then I look up, my motion is improved. But again, it doesn't feel very comfortable on like my spine. If I'm throwing a chin tuck, once my head is back, I let my chin go. Right? That feels like a very good stretch across the front of my neck, and it doesn't bother the back of my neck. And that's where today I've noticed that as I've worked on this extension, that my headache tends to improve, right? That working on these muscles here, getting them to relax a little bit feels good. And because I've been working on them, I'm noticing that I'm like, ooh, I'm actually kind of sore through there. So what I want to go through is kind of what I call my preferred chin tuck series. We've already done part of it. It's basically going into a chin tuck plus another motion. So generally, the first position I like working with my patients in particular is laying down. If your knees, you're laying down. It doesn't have to be complicated. It's just what's comfortable. For most people, laying with their knees bent is pretty comfortable. So from here, as I pull my chin down and push my head back, all right, that's it. All right, I feel that work deep in my neck. Feels like a good stretch, all those things. So again, just a little nod. From there, right, it's just that little upper cervical nod where I'm literally just pulling my chin down a little bit. So we can work on extension with that nod, or we can also work on lower cervical flexion. So being able to keep our Upper cervical spine a little flexed while we flex our neck, since normally we spend a lot of time with our upper cervical spine and excess extension, hyperextension. So from here, right, I will tuck my chin down, and then I'm going to try and lift my head up and hold it for a 5 count while I breathe. 4. Mhm, mhm. So the thought is, if I have that chin tuck, I don't want to see my chin jut up as I lift my head up. I want to feel that I can hold that position and be able to bring my head down the entire time without losing that upper cervical flexion, that little bit of a nod. All right, one more time. All right, and you can see my hands moving on my belly, so you know I'm breathing. From here, the primary purpose of like the upper cervical spine is rotation. So the question is, how far can I rotate before I lose my chin tuck? So from here, right, little cervical nod, lift, turn, come back to middle, and reset. Again, nod, lift, turn, reset, and breathe. So here we go. It's like we're checking our blind spot, right? Okay. Okay. And then we'll do the same thing to the right to compare the capability side to side. All right. So that felt pretty good. All right. Okay. So that is challenging in its own right because you're having to work those deep cervical flexors, but you have some feedback from the surface you're laying on. From here, I will also work into, just like what we had demonstrated earlier, extension, rotation, and side bending. So this is where that's my neck mobility to the right, that's my neck mobility to the left. If I had a chin tuck first, all right, I can actually, there we go. All right, it's much more limited. So again, it kind of changes how we end up doing the movement. So what I'll work into first is chin tuck with rotation. So from here, all right, and that's about as far as I can get before I feel like, right, my chin wants to jut out. So again, it's challenging because it requires a level of coordination and concentration. So again, if we do the same thing to the right, All right, try and keep that chin tuck the whole time. And as I'm turning, I'm actually like getting a stretch into that suboccipital area. Good. So let's retry the left again. All right, and that's definitely tight. All right, before we get into cervical side bending, let's take a look at cervical extension again, where again, could have done better. I will say you don't have to worry about coming back into a chin tuck, just come back air quote normal, but you don't need a protract at the end either. I generally like assigning about 5 of each motion if it's being done well, because we have a laying chin tuck, we have a laying chin tuck with flexion, we have a laying chin tuck with chin tuck and rotation to each side. So that's 20 repetitions right there. We then have, gravity, or a more upright position, whether you're sitting or standing. We have rotation, we have side bending, we have extension. So we're up to 9 sets there. And then we're going to end up doing some work on our stomach as well. So that could be another, 2 to 3 sets. So you're looking at 60 repetitions total. And these are muscles meant for like stamina and fine motor movement. But again, if I were to give someone 20 repetitions, they would probably just try and blow through it. So I do emphasize, at least for myself, I feel like I'd rather you do 5 really good ones and recognize the effort that you did during the session for that, 30 minutes to an hour, however long it takes, but then continue the practice on a regular basis outside of that direct one-on-one supervision. Um, and it's like I have this joke with my patients where it's like, yes, you can buy me. I do have a number. It's just most people can't afford me. So the collective you have to be able to do this on your own. All right, so from here, same thing. Let's recheck side bending. All right, and again, it's a lot of concentration, but as I've been going through this, right, is the front of my neck definitely sore? Yeah, like muscle sore. Like I've exercised that in a way that I haven't probably in a while because I think I've been doing a lot more paperwork and I've been stuck like this, and that's where again, like, hey, I've been doing more paperwork. I feel like I've been a little more stressed out. Maybe it's been hotter, so it's just like, ugh, I feel like that. Alrighty, so I do want to take a quick break from all that cervical flexion and work into some crocodile. So again, that thought of just being able to open up the front of your neck here after all that work is nice. All right. So the last few things that I'll probably end up doing is the scapular letters with an emphasis again on that general stability prior to moving my arms. So, all right, so if I'm back here, all right, there is a little lip created by one of my mats. So my chin is, right, I end up in that upper cervical extended position, slightly protracted. And then from here, I want to give it a little nod, and then up. Whew. And that is very challenging. All right, so that was with palms up. We're going to see how we do palms down. And again, the emphasis on there was breathing. So, um, maybe this is a slight coaching issue on my end. Maybe I'm making assumptions, but I feel like a lot of the patients who are dealing with like neck pain, headaches, or general postural stability are just relatively averse to this kind of a challenge. Um, and or they're just relatively deconditioned because of how debilitating these headaches are. So it is, you know, it's a challenge on my end because maybe I make these assumptions. Or again, it is a challenge for these people. But the thought being like, hey, let's hold this position for 3 to 4 breaths. And like it should be hard. It should be a muscular strain. I don't necessarily want it to be painful, but and again, ideally I would not want this to reproduce or like cause a headache after you do these. But part of that might be like, hey, your system has to work and figure this out a little bit. So here we go again. So I did about 5 easy-ish respirations there to kind of just, instead of counting and trying to breathe, no, just 5 easy respirations, deep breaths, trying to emphasize again, breathing with stability. All right, from here, I will work a um, into a Y because that is the most challenging position, and kind of over these chin tucks, right? And that's the other thing where it's like, why do I only do 5 reps? Because by the time you do 60 to 70 of these, you're like, can I do anything but a chin tuck right now? All right, so here we go. those are challenging. All right, we'll do one more rep and then we'll call it a day. Here we go. All right, so that was that. All right, all right, I lied. There we go. Just wanted to work it to a quick lat stretch, but again, still like can't check my change. Nah. All right, chin up. All right, wanted to stretch up my lats a little bit, so cool. Glad I skipped the gym. Felt like having a day to kind of do some of this wasn't a bad thing for me. Um, there are a lot of opinions on the internet, and here's another one. Um, if I had to kind of maybe pick a story that I heard, it was from a pain scientist giving a talk on chronic pain, and he said that he could always tell the people who had chronic pain were in the audience because they could sit through an hour and a half lecture in perfect posture, whereas the people who were pain free were constantly shifting because that's what their body told them to do. So your body wants to move, and that a variety of achievable, sustainable positions is probably a better way to go than trying to think like that you have to be like this all the time. It looks pretty, but it's not realistic. Um, and again, some work done is always better than no work done. Some days are good, some days aren't. So do what you can for yourself. All right, if you did what I did today, great. If you did your own thing, awesome. You're just starting, looking for ideas, motivation, discipline, or a community to support you. It's what we're here to do, help each other be a little better every day. So good job today. Keep working hard. We'll see you next time.